Welcome to Unleash the Potential. Extremely excited today. We have Mike Snee from College Hockey Inc. We're going to talk about all the ins and outs for all the players coming up looking to play college hockey, the myths, the facts, and just some fun. Mike, thank you so much for jumping on here.
You got it, Key. I appreciate the opportunity.
I wanted to kind of start up. I think one of the, with an easy thought there. College hockey is the one hockey that has a 2-year out of high school into to play juniors first, then go into. Could we talk about a little bit of the history there and how that kind of with every other sport, everyone jumps right from high school into it. But what's up with that?
Why is it that way? That's a great question, and you're right. Maybe there's a little bit of that in basketball, but really every other sport. You go right from your last high school season into your first college season. I think there's some red shirting that occurs in football, so a player might not play their freshman year, those types of things. But for the most part, there's nothing like you see in college hockey. And I don't really know the history, other than I have a few kind of theories, one of which is hockey was played so much outside of the United States before college hockey really took off many years ago. So the model in Canada for years, and even over in Europe, was this junior hockey concept, which isn't connected to schools and obviously goes until you're age 20. And so that's how a Canadian typically did it. And then how an American typically did it was high school or prep, and then on to college hockey at 18 when you graduate, and there you go. And then as I guess the world got smaller and stuff started to cross over, you had this Canadian model and you had this American model, and then they just kind of got blended. And I don't think the intent ever was that they would, but they did. And in most ways, it works pretty well. And now you have all sorts of college eligible junior hockey out there that allows you to continue to play a development focused hockey after high school and before college. And some players choose to go right from high school into college. Usually they're, very, very high-end special players like a Jack Eichel. Others will play 1 year of junior, and many, probably most, that play Division I hockey will play 2 years of junior hockey. And I think what it's allowed is, if you want to use the word parity in college hockey, it has allowed a bit of a leveling of the playing field. So because rosters range anywhere from 18 years old, players that are 18 years old, true freshmen as we call them, all the way up to seniors that can be as old as 24 or even 25. So it's unique. I don't think the intent ever was that it would look the way it does, but it does look the way it does right now, and I think there is a lot of benefits to it.
No, 100%. I think one of the things that I think there's a huge discussion just in general in our society is, you have kids that at 18 make a decision to commit to, $140,000, $150,000, $180,000, and they don't even know if that's the area that they want to go to. So I think it's actually great for guys to be able to complete high school, right? Step out, continue to do some classes, continue to do some work, but live in the real world, not necessarily the real world, because again, hockey is it's a special world, but it's not necessarily the real world, right? Kind of get a better feel for who they are before they jump into, all right, when I go to college, what am I going to do? So I think it's an awesome, I think most places should take that on because you need some time to figure yourself out. But that's just my opinion,
Yeah, I think in general, what do they call it? The gap year, the exploration year, I don't know, the hanging tight year, I don't know what you call it, but it does seem that it's becoming more and more popular amongst high school graduates to not go immediately into college and take that extra year. And I've read some stuff about that in general, not just with hockey players, but it seems to have some benefits in terms of allowing you to mature, and probably those same benefits that are just there for non-student athletes are also there for student athletes. And all, evidence or anecdotal evidence, such as our graduation rate, 92% of men that play college hockey will graduate from college. So it doesn't seem to hinder their academic success. And in fact, it might appear that it actually helps their academic success. So from that standpoint, that's wonderful, but also from the hockey development standpoint, really allowing what I would say a young player to extend their development life as a hockey player and not have to go right into the performance life of being a pro hockey player. As I mentioned earlier, you can play college hockey all the way up until 24 years old, 25 even. It does allow you to more appropriately, I think, be in a spot where you're continuing to take advantage of the benefits of being a college athlete. Fewer games, more practices, more time in the weight room, just preparing yourself so that when you make that leap to pro hockey, if that's what you do, when you make that leap to pro hockey, you're more prepared for it.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing. We're very big. Everything we do here, we're very big on development, and everyone wants that quick pill of, all right, let me just jump in, be ready to go. I can do this right away, but it really takes time. Like no matter how good you are, how talented you are, there's other guys that are just as talented that have a couple years on you, and that experience, that know-how of how to prioritize and be ready for it makes a huge difference. So I'm totally with you. I think it's an extremely important part there.
Yeah, if you don't, sorry to interrupt there, but one thing that we want to do, or one of our objectives at College Hockey Inc., is to make sure that the young player and his family and other people involved in his hockey decision making, that they have an understanding of what the facts are.
Right.
And we have found that people's perception of what reality is in many ways is not in line with reality, especially when it comes to that timeline of where a player should be when. And to generalize, typically all men playing Division I college hockey, or almost all men, will play 18U midget or high school or prep or a combination of that. And I think that you find a lot of people think that you go right from 16U to junior, and that's absolutely not the case. And then the average age that a college player commits to their college is 18 years old. I'm sorry, 19 years old, 18.9. So it's essentially 19 years old. The average age of a freshman is 20 years old. So although that I used his name earlier, Jack Eichel committed to Boston University young. He went in as a very young true freshman. In fact, I think he accelerated his studies to go in very young. And then he left after 1 year right into the NHL. I think we base a lot of things off of his timeline, when very, very few players have a timeline that looks like that. So, but what happens then because of that is suddenly there are guys out there that are 18 years old that think they're light years behind because they haven't committed yet. Maybe they haven't had any, real noteworthy recruiting conversations yet, when in fact they're still a year away from the average age of committing and 2 years away from being a freshman. So we just want to make sure that players that are aspiring to play Division I men's college hockey understand what that looks like, so that they don't either get frustrated and quit or get frustrated and make a poor decision.
100%. That's a great transition there. With the guys coming up, right? I know was it a year or 2 years ago, the rule changed on who you can commit.
So a year ago in May, so a little over a year ago, we instituted new rules, recruiting rules. And the two main parts of it are that there can be no recruiting conversation between a coach and a potential student athlete until January 1st of that player's sophomore year in high school. Prior to these new rules, the coach could not initiate contact until January 1st of sophomore year, but the potential student athlete could always initiate that contact. And that's how you ended up with recruiting conversations occurring in 8th grade, 9th grade, and commitments occurring in 8th and 9th grade. Now, none of those conversations can begin until January 1st of your sophomore year. And probably more importantly, no commitments can be made until August 1st, headed into your junior year. So those are the two main pieces, January 1st of your sophomore year, August 1st, headed into your junior year.
So are there a couple, because I know for myself, some of the different players, are there any interesting stories, or not interesting stories, but, situations that occurred at those times, right, that made you, that those rules were put in place? I can obviously think of some different players myself that I know that, had to work with, getting decommitted and then coming back through and trying to figure it out last minute. Is there any kind of stuff like that like was kind of going on that really, what was the last thing that kind of made that happen?
I guess you might have to ask others about any particular singular occurrences, but I believe it was really just the collective. And in college hockey, because we have a lot, we have quantity of conversations, as I would say. It was evident, without a doubt, that there was what I like to call kind of a wake of angst that was left behind every time there was a 15-year-old committed.
Right.
So a 15-year-old would commit to a school. On social media, he would obviously announce it to everyone and thank everyone.
Right.
But then what would happen is there'd be some number, 100 other 15-year-olds that look at that player as their peer, and then they wonder, well, where's my commitment? And that player's parents would wonder, well, where's my son's commitment? And there'd be this pressure on hundreds of players. And never was there a time when there was a lot of 14 and 15-year-old commitments. It was more so the ones that there were would get so much attention. So it wasn't that we had 800 14-year-olds out there with a commitment. It was just, it put this pressure on. And I think that's what led to this perception that, hey, I'm 17 and a half, I'm 18, I'm a senior in high school. I've only had a few conversations. I don't have any commitments. Should I even keep playing anymore? And it was partly because we placed so much emphasis on these young players that were committing. So I think we just acknowledged that we were part of the problem. I mean, we were not entirely the problem, but we were certainly part of it in terms of just creating this pressure that you had to commit younger and younger and younger. And I think if we didn't do something, it would only continue to get younger and younger. It was done with the interest of just making the experience for a young hockey player more in line with what it should be, which is at 14, you should not be concerned yet with where you're going to go to school. You should just be concerned with becoming a better 14-year-old hockey player.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think that's huge. It's because, throughout the years, you hear guys talk about who's been committed. And then at the same time, you always worry about the kid that has committed, because at that young age, you think you made it when you still have so much further to go, right? And again, coming back to that development piece, it's, that hunger, that focus on, hey, I need to continue to get better. This is a great, first step to make, but now I need to hit that next plateau, the next plateau. And, so I think, I know for me, I was excited when I saw that, because it just took some of the extra gossip and the, all that side of it out of it a bit. So yeah. Now what about with the age outs, right? So how, I know you kind of mentioned with the numbers there, guys that are age outs, right? What are some of the things that they should be thinking about, they should be worried about, they should not be worried about, some of the myths out there maybe that kind of goes.
If you're in your last year of junior hocky?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So a player that's in their last year of junior hockey, that's when a lot of players commit. I think the answer is actually pretty easy. You should just keep playing hard, getting better, and being the player you want to be. And there is a part of this too, that there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee. You might get to the end, and whatever it was you were hoping would happen may not happen.
Right.
And I think that's part of what you sign up for. Is there's not enough spots in men's Division I hockey for all of the worthy players. But there's also Division III, and there's also ACHA club hockey, especially at the top programs that have ACHA hockey. That's high performing too. So if you're in your last year of junior hockey and you don't yet have the commitment, or you haven't had that conversation that you most want, expand your horizons, I suppose, to that, to the other hockey opportunities that might be out there, but just continue to play and get better, because commitments can happen all the way up, till the very end.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I think I was looking. I've checked out the site pretty often. Just kind of keeping up with kind of what's going on in college hockey and everything. And I think there's some awesome information on there. I know I heard I can't remember the guy's name. He was in this area about a year ago, and he had do you guys often have those graphics of what the numbers are per year of, how many 18-year-olds were committed this year, 19, 20, like that kind of thing? Is there a way guys can, because I guess sometimes when I'm talking to guys and I could see it, they're focused on that and they're forgetting about just get better, just continue to, like, you love the game, continue to play and just continue to get better. And as long as you love it, then do what you're doing and everything will be okay, whether you works out or not. So is there a good tool for guys to go out to use?
Well, we've evaluated so there were approximately 1,600 plus, a little over 1,600 men that played Division I hockey this past season. And we evaluated their route, their path, what it looked like for them prior to college hockey. Mm-hmm. We not only looked at what league were they in immediately before college hockey, or what level were they playing. We also looked at what level were they playing, or what league were they in immediately before they were in that league, before they led into college hockey. Just so we know the facts, we know we know what the baseline is. And that's back to what I said earlier when I don't know exactly why, but in certain parts of the country, 18U does not have a very positive perception. I mean, less so in some parts than other parts, but I think just collectively, it's not anybody's favorite level of hockey. Okay. And so if you simply based it on people's kind of attitude towards it and people's perceptions of it, you wouldn't think there were many players that play 18U that would move on to NCAA Division I, when in fact, that's not the case at all. Most Division I players, especially from certain areas where 18U is the prevalent method, Michigan, for example, I think out in the Pennsylvania, New Jersey area as well, most guys that go on to play and have successful NCAA Division I careers will play 18U hockey. Mm-hmm. So I guess the advice would be is know the facts, right. Know what it looks like, and then don't try to speed things up. It seems like, and I'm basing this off of a lot of conversations with people who know more about this topic than I do, is if you try to speed things up, if you think skipping a step gets you there faster or quicker, it certainly appears like it doesn't get you there faster and quicker. And in fact, you run the risk of it slowing you down and in some cases derailing your hockey. Where when you see a player that dominated at a level, let's say he was playing 18U and he was dominating, and I suppose he could be off to junior hockey, but he played 18U, it rarely appears that ever negatively affects a player. Being the best player or one of the best players on the ice isn't a bad thing. As I like this, because I'll have these conversations with people that always think you need to, the best player in the team needs to move up, which is a bit of an odd argument, because then that just leaves another best player on the team. Well, now he thinks he's got to move up, right? Right. And my statement to that is Connor McDavid is still getting better. And Connor's almost never on the ice with anybody that's as good as him. Right. But he's still getting better. Right. So I think if Connor McDavid can continue to get better, even though he's unless they're playing the Penguins or he and Leon Draisaitl are doing one-on-one battles, he's always the best player, but he's still getting better. Right. So that would be my message to a player is understand the facts and then don't try to skip steps and really just but be concerned with or motivated by the present. Right. And, just as I'm sure you say, be better in 90 minutes when you get off the ice than you are right now when you're stepping on the ice. 100%. I think that's one thing I do want to add too is once you get to that age, sophomore, January 1st of your sophomore year, you can initiate the communication too. So if you have a player that hasn't had the recruiting experiences that he's hoping for yet, and has identified a few schools that he's interested in, they can certainly initiate that contact and communication. So it's not all just to sit and wait. You can initiate it. Now, they may or may not be interested in having that communication back with you, but there's nothing stopping a person from doing that either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that's I guess that kind of touches on the other. I know you guys have some tools for reaching out. I think I saw is there a certain way that you would suggest for guys to go out and if they're going to reach out to coaches or GMs or whoever it is there a certain way that you think the right way is to go about it? Or
Sure. Yeah, if you go to our website, collegehockeyinc.com, and then go to the menu tab there, and there's all sorts of I think helpful items. Our website, you said earlier that you're on it quite a bit. Our website is really tailored for the aspiring young hockey player that wants to play college hockey. It's not a fan-oriented website. It's not where you'd go to necessarily read about games or read about, look at scores and stuff like that. It really is, if you want to play college hockey, how do you get there? And so on our website, you'll find that we wrote an article and provided how to put your college hockey resume together. What does a college coach want to see? What are they not as interested in? And then we have contact information for all of our Division I schools. We have email addresses and phone numbers for the assistant coaches, who those coaches are, mailing addresses if that's needed. So we do try to make it as easy as possible, that if, let's say, for some reason you want to play college hockey, but you're also want to pursue engineering, you can come to the school, come and just look at the schools that are widely known as engineering schools, and then contact those schools. So we do encourage students, potential student athletes, to take it on themselves as well and be part of the recruiting process, not just to wait for a call or a text or a handshake from a coach.
Right. Yeah, no, I think that's actually one of the things that I was looking at. There's just so much information, but I think a lot of times Instagram kind of takes over.
Yeah.
And people start searching. But the people, Instagram, listen, I love Instagram, but a lot of times when you don't know if you're reaching out to the school through Instagram or, through any other social media platform, you don't know who's actually looking at those messages. So I know it's actually it's nice when you can take a look and say, I know I'm reaching this person. I'm actually talking to this person. And if you didn't get a message back, you know that it was from that person specifically, not from who knows who it is on the other side of social media. So
I would strongly suggest you contact the coach directly and personally. That's the way to go.
Yeah, 100%. Awesome. Yeah, well, Mike, listen, I think I really appreciate you coming on. I mean, that was really some of the big stuff that I wanted to touch on with you. I know, because it's just, like I said, we work with so many hockey players, and, I think everyone's so worried about, can they make it to the next step? And like you mentioned, they kind of forget about the present. They forget about just develop. And I think it's just helpful for everyone to kind of see that, it all comes. Your journey is your journey, and it all comes when it'll come, or it won't, or it won't. So,
I mean, and it might not. That's why make sure you enjoy today's practice or this year's team and your current teammates, because that's not going to hinder your development by any means. And you have that. You've got this team, and I sometimes do feel that too much emphasis is placed on the next level.
Right.
And so you're always kind of worried about next year as opposed to really just enjoying and developing this year. And we're part of the problem. We're out there sharing all the wonderful things about college hockey. So I understand how we sometimes can be to blame for that, because we're distracting a 14 or 15-year-old from simply being a 14 or 15-year-old hockey player and enjoying the moment. So we strongly encourage, enjoy the moment. That doesn't prevent you from getting better. Right. And understand the pace and the length of the process.
Well, I think it's the competitive spirit, because the majority of hockey players that are looking to make it to the next level, they are the top of the crop, right? Which means that competitive spirit's there. So it's, consistently worrying about that next step. And I'm going to tell you, I think it's great to see stats. I know I saw, kind of like you said, like 18.9, right? Because so many guys, like you said, it just seems like it's the younger guy that makes it. When really, 18U has a lot of commitments. I think I was looking. I saw I think in December I saw the numbers. It was like 60 commitments from the 18U, from the 18U leagues. Where everyone else thinks if I don't go juniors, that means I'm not gonna it's not gonna work out. Which again,
players will go junior, but they'll go junior after 18U.
Right.
They won't go instead of 18U.
Well, what I'm saying is, they might go a year earlier, so they won't play their last 18U year, and they go earlier because they're like, well, I this is the way I got to make it to the next level. Where if you just dominate your last 2 years of 18U, it's a whole different situation. But I think that's the thing is like the route on how to get there is so different for everyone. And I think it just depends on the person, how you deal, because that's the other part. Like you leave and you end up being on your own. Now, how are you doing with that, right? That comfort piece. So, so I just, I think thank you so much for the information. Thank you so much for coming on today. Mike, is there anything you wanted to touch on before we? Yeah,
well, certainly visit our website. Follow us on Twitter or Instagram. Our website's collegehockeyinc.com, and the ink is INC. And just make note of, we've got a lot of the information that you'll find on our website is research-based. It's kind of based in facts, looking at the whole. It's not slanted for any one thing. We are a nonprofit. We'll never charge for anything that we do, whether it's our website, if you call us, email us, come to one of our events. There's not an agenda other than we think college hockey is great and that you should learn all that you can about it. And then one thing that we just don't mention enough is, yes, some of our players will move on to the NHL, other levels of pro hockey. But in the end, there's still just 675 spots in the NHL. And that makes our 92% graduation rate pretty impressive. It might not be top of mind for a young 16-year-old right now that wants to make it to the NHL. That's fine. We understand that. But if they do include college hockey in their pursuit of their hockey aspirations, it's going to, we believe, provide them with such a great opportunity to reach their full potential as a hockey player, but at the same time, almost ensure that they will also get a college degree. So it's pretty special.
Yeah, 100%. Mike, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. And we'll talk soon.
Thanks, Key. I appreciate it. Thanks for the opportunity to talk with your clients.